folks, welcome back. Today I am using the Numinous Tarot, and I've already put reversals in, but what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to shuffle until Spirit asks me to stop, and at that point we will hear what message Spirit would like to give us today. We have the Seven of Tomes coming from the bottom of the deck. This particular entity is at a book signing after they put in a whole lot of really hard work into publishing, into writing the book and then getting it published, getting a literary agent, that whole rigmarole. Now they get to enjoy the rewards of having people read their book and having enough fans that they're able to put on a book signing event. This is a really cool interpretation of the Seven of Pentacles for me personally. But this is about enjoying hard work, enjoying the fruits of your labor, but also about knowing when to sit back and stop working so hard because that season is past. I've always said with the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith Seven of Pentacles that if the farmer in that particular picture messes with the crop too much, they will ruin their crop. The same thing is also here. There's a time and a season for hard work and for enjoying the fruits of your hard work. Now here is the Five of Candles, also known as the Five of Wands. We're supposed to be enjoying the fruits of our hard labor, but there's something about this. People get jealous. There's conflict around all this hard labor. And now we've got the Five of Pentacles, or the Five of Tomes, and it's in reverse. There's something about this conflict, this jealousy, coming for the fruits of our hard labor, that's going to put us into a bad place where we're required to go in for assistance. Now it's interesting that the Five of Tomes comes pretty soon after the Seven of Tomes. In essence, we could be forced to burn the fruits of our hard labor because this conflict puts us in such a way that we're, forced to leave those fruits of our labor behind and go in for help. Instead, this should be a time of rejoicing or resting. And instead, it's quite the opposite. I'm going to come for the United States, since it's kind of an ethnocentric view, but it's the only place where I've lived. So I'm only going to speak for my experience with the United States. There's a lot, in spite of its history, in spite of its dependence on slave labor, chattel slavery as well, there's a lot of rewards that the United States has earned, ill-gotten and otherwise. And this conflict, this fight over those rewards, is what's going to put us all in a bad place. This is going to burn everything down, in spite of the fact there's help behind. A library is a community resource, and ideally, we need to be able to tap into our communities to get us through these hard times, and even better, to avoid the conflict. But I don't know how avoidable the conflict is at this point. Whenever I look at the tension rising in the United States, there's part of me that just wonders if this will just blow up in our faces. And the astrological transits that we have coming up this year also suggests that. We have Neptune and Aries starting off in the end of March. And then we have Uranus and Gemini starting in July. Those are two transits that the United States has not seen in quite some time, generations even. And when you layer those two transits on top of Pluto in Aquarius, you have a stack of transits that the United States has never seen. So I don't know how much of this we can avoid. I do know that we can go into our community centers and ask, well, not literally community centers, but create communities where we can go in for help, for resources. We can also perceive this as, in spite of the conflict, that right now there are still things to enjoy. This is also about individual hard labor, but also about conflict, taking those fruits of that hard labor away from us, the individuals, and being required to go into communities for help, for assistance to get through this era. We have here justice, and it's in reverse. Now, what was I just saying about ill-gotten gains? The author here has worked very hard to get to the point of being at a book signing with all these fans, but on the other hand, justice is in reverse. These are consequences. This is karmic debts coming around to pay, and the United States is currently going through its Pluto return. Pluto, the god of the underworld, is saying, how have you done since you last became a nation? Oh, you've done quite a bit of a great deal of harm. Then justice will be given out to those who created harm, as well as to those who suffered through the harm. To the oppressed and to the oppressors, justice will be impartial, and it will take time. It has taken decades, even centuries, for this part of the American story to get to this particular point, but it's here. And I definitely feel like it's going to be kicking off in a major way in 2025. I think that it's pretty much unavoidable at this point. We have the sun in reverse. You don't need me to spell that out for you. It's deep unhappiness, it's delayed happiness, and it's arriving on top of the five of candles. I'm doing a 3x3 spread here. The sun in reverse is coming right after justice in reverse. As a nation, we have existed on the backs of slaves and on slave labor. And when we can't find cheap labor here in the United States, we find ways to get it from other places. That behavior will be punished. And of course, it's going to make everybody in the United States living, whether you're a citizen or not, it's going to make everybody miserable. And most likely, it will make other the United States' former allies quite miserable too, because their fate is being dragged down along with the United States'. This is going to be a hard series of transits. And I'm getting like 2026, no letdown, no let up of energy in 2026. I'm getting a maelstrom of justice. The justice will be hard at work both this year. It starts this year and gets really to work next year. I noticed that we will be out of the shadow of Pluto and Capricorn in January and as well as February 2026. Right now we are in its shadow, which means it's a little bit complicated. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But right now the effects of authoritarianism and elitism, giving power to a very small few, giving the majority of wealth to a very few people, we're still feeling the effects of that, and it's not going to be really until next year that things kick off. I've been saying to myself now for a while that people in the United States will need to be genuinely pressed for us to get to a point where we pull a French Revolution. We have the Eight of Bells, the Eight of Swords, deep anxiety, but also being overwhelmed with the noise of the situation. This particular entity can't focus on the moment because they are so overwhelmed with the noise, and also they're blinding themselves with their own hands. They can't see a way out away from the noise because there's possibly so much going on. So this makes me believe, this combination of cards makes me believe that justice is going to be working so hard and that the unhappiness is going to be so deep that we're not going to be able to see our way towards help in communities, help in numbers, for at least a little while. Some people will get there sooner than others, and some may never find their way. Others may be leaders and may create communities where others may be safe. Above all, it is all our responsibility to look out for the most disadvantaged in our communities. We have to do that because those are the people who cannot help themselves, so we need to step up. That's how we create a karmic, not a karmic debt, but a divine reward eventually. We may not see it immediately. But I wonder if we aren't going to be so overwhelmed with the noise of everything crashing down around us that we're not going to be able to immediately see our way to communities. Or we could be forced towards those communities in order to keep us safe. But it's still going to be difficult in the sense that a lot of people are going to be blinded. Panic mode is what I've said now for the past couple of videos. I do believe that people are going to be panicked once things really get started. We have the Four of Tomes, knowledge, but it's locked away. That lock to the right is heavily emphasized here because knowledge does no good if it's not being used. Book knowledge does no good if it's not being used. We've been here before as a nation, and other nations have been here before too. History is repeating itself because the United States has refused to educate itself. White people have a great responsibility. Straight people, cisgender people, those who are wealthy, bear a great responsibility for retaining history cycles that have no business being repeated. This is a lack of education, and when we do not educate ourselves on what happened in the past, we are doomed to repeat it. We're doomed to watch the fruits of our hard labor be dispersed, be thrown away, be wasted, because justice demands that it be so. As a whole, the United States has not learned from the lessons of past nations, past empires, if you will, and therefore it is doomed to repeat the fate of those other fallen empires. We have the Dreamer of Tomes, or the Page of Pentacles here. There is still the potential to start over and start growing as individuals at the very, very least. And also, as a nation, there is the potential to grow something new out of the conflict, out of the unhappiness. If it has to be this way, if we have to lose everything, then there will be some people who will say, I have the emotional, spiritual, and mental maturity to say, what can we do in spite of everything that's going on in these two cards up here? We can choose to grow out of this, but it's not going to be automatic. It has to be a choice. This goes on an individual level as much as it goes on a societal level. We have here the Fool being afraid to take a leap of faith because the noise around the situation is so great that we don't want to trust people that normally we wouldn't trust. This would be about coming together with people who voted against the oppressed groups in this past election. This would be about coming together, oppressor and oppressed, because from a certain point of view, the oppressor and the oppressed are made up paradigms. in the sense that there are greater forces pushing down on even the less oppressor people. I hope I'm not making sense right now. We're looking at the billionaire class. We're looking at the elitist class who are trying to cast the attention off of them and put it amongst the collective. They're encouraging the collective to fight when it comes to misogyny, racism, homophobia, transphobia against those who are unhoused. They're encouraging those fights because it gets the attention off of them, and that's what I meant. This is being unwilling to trust that others will help. And to be honest, there will be people who will take advantage of our pain, just like it's happened in the past, but there will be others who will not, who will see a need and who will rise to the occasion. And I don't know how many people are going to be willing to trust the universe when it comes to the collapse of American society and the great need to head towards communities that are going to be supportive through these difficult times. With the tarot reading, let's take from the bottom. We have the Star in reverse. This is about a loss of faith. This is about a great need of healing and not getting it. I don't know that we're going to be in a good place for at least a decent period of time. At this particular recording, at the time of this recording, things are going downhill gradually and quickly. And smoothly is what I should say. So going downhill without much resistance. This is the time to let it go. And while there may not be any healing in the foreseeable future, just because the clouds are covering the stars doesn't mean the stars aren't there. Just because times are difficult doesn't mean the universe isn't there to catch us and take us through difficult scenarios. You need to take on a spiritual path. If you haven't started already. If you have, well done. Please keep going. Just like I'm telling that to myself, I'm going to continue to walk down the spiritual path in spite of any difficult times that may be coming my way. I'll be the first to tell you that it is hard, but it is worth it. We have here the Queen, or the creator of bells, the Queen of Swords. It's in reverse. There's the real risk that a lot of people could become so distrustful of people that should be in their communities that they keep those valuable people out. This is not the time to drive people away when you need people the most. You might be really, really tempted. You might even think that it's the right thing to keep everybody out. This is the wrong time to do so. Ask for help from the universe, and when the universe provides help to you through unexpected outlets, accept it just the same. For some people, you might struggle with pride. I'll be the first person to tell you that I do the same. Okay? It sucks sometimes having to ask for help, but it's also a sign of deep strength. It's a sign of spiritual, mental, and emotional maturity. The last card is the Six of Candles. It's in reverse. In this particular case, there may feel like there's not much to be celebrated, but being around others is going to contribute to that sense of at least we have each other. We can be grateful for at least this. This suggests a party, a birthday cake if you will, but in reverse, this might be a greatly shrunken kind of party. In fact, it may not be that much of a party at all once things get really, really crazy. You can be grateful for at least we have each other, but then you have to look at the outside environment and how the world seems to be falling apart, society coming down onto its knees. So, lately I've been enjoying closing out readings with the Sufi Wisdom Oracle. Right here. Sorry if I'm tapping the mic and thumping on the table. So once again, I'm going to shuffle until Spirit asks me to stop. No reversals are needed with these particular cards. Enjoy the moment. This says time to play. Make time to dance and play. Because we're in the final moments of how things were. Now we're going to have to start moving into how things will be during this Pluto and Aquarius transit. Uranus and Gemini and Neptune and Aries won't last as long as Pluto and Aquarius will. And on the other side of Pluto and Aquarius, when we start moving into Pluto and Pisces, things are going to look radically different. So, for the moment, find time to relax and enjoy what it is you have. We started out this reading with the Seven of Tomes and enjoying the fruits of our labor. Make time to do that now. Make time to be grateful for the things that you have now. Maybe a gratitude bullet journal is something that you'd be interested in doing, and maybe not. But at least finding a thing or two to be grateful for throughout your day, if possible. And I understand that some of you are going through a really rough time. I get that 100%. There are still things to be grateful for, even when you are going through really hard times. The Spirit has not left you. The universe, your ancestors have not left you. Your deities have not left you. Time to play. Make time to dance and play. And make a change. Welcome change into your life. Celebrate the moment now, because we're moving into how things will be. And those are going to be difficult times for at least a temporary amount of time. It won't last forever. It's not sustainable. But a spiritual path is what's going to bring you the most satisfaction, the most joy, and is what's going to help you increase the gratitude that you feel, even for the difficult moments. Last and not least, self-creation. Be the author of your own life. When you make a change, you write your own story instead of the story happening to you. There's a reason why we enjoy stories where the characters make choices and then consequences, both good and bad, happen to the character instead of things just happening to the character and the character just kind of bumbles their way through life. This shouldn't be you. You are not an NPC. You are an autonomous being that moves from lifetime to lifetime. You have a soul. Everyone has a soul. There is no such thing as an NPC. There are just humans who operate on autopilot. And that may not you. That probably isn't you if you're watching this video. But it is tempting to operate on autopilot because that's just how things were and how things are. Consciously make time to enjoy what it is you have in the moment, but then allow change to come into your life and make positive changes towards your best and your highest good so that you can be proud of the story that you tell when you come to the end of your existence on this mortal plane. Get ready to move back into Source and then be reincarnated again. I wish you the best day possible. Thank you for watching to this point if you did. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.